right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the channel. I am Aesop Grimm, and this is the intro video for my second Chronicle in Crusader Kings 3 Royal Court. This one has the Royal Court DLC. I did used to have a Chronicle number 2 already. It was on the Iberian Peninsula, but my video card broke down during it, so I went ahead and deleted that from the channel. It doesn't have a point of existence. I wasn't able to finish it. We're going to do a content briefing. It will be very abridged, and it will also be a little bit weird because I'm actually going to go over 2 games, and I'll explain that later in the video. But let me do this content briefing and also let you know that this is going to be an abridged version, and if you want a fuller version, check out my intro video for my first Chronicle in Crusader Kings 3. Okay, I'm going to unlock my display. And we're going to take a look at this rating right here. Normally, I like to go to commonsensemedia.org, but they don't have a rating for Crusader Kings 3. But you can see right here, ESRB gives it mature 17 plus for violence, use of drugs, sexual themes, partial nudity, language, and blood. I can tell you there's no problem. Partial nudity is not applicable for this playthrough. This is a YouTube playthrough. This can be optioned out, and I have optioned it out. Peggy gives it a rating of 12 years old, I'm assuming. I think that's what Peggy 12 must mean. And they give it that rating because of sex, bad language, and violence. Okay, very condensed reasons. This is a map game. It's a strategy game. You do not have cutscenes. You don't have any movie-like stuff. You don't have audio. What you have is scenarios and dialogue and events that you read. Okay, so for toddlers playing in the room, you don't have any worries. One, they're not going to be interested in it. This will not hold their interest. It's way too complex. Number 2, there is no audio with cursing or anything inappropriate that comes out, and there's no like love scenes or animated cinematics or anything like that. None of that exists. No violence, war scenes or anything like that. That doesn't exist in this game. Okay, so there's kind of your down and dirty view. You can look at this right here if you want to, and you can also check out my Chronicle number 1 breakdown if you want more info. The second game, and I will explain why I'm looking at this a little bit later in the video. This is a possibility. It's a potential. But we're going to look at Mount and Blade Warband. Now, I am not using Warband. I am using Bannerlord, and I have a Chronicle on the channel for Bannerlord as well. So if you want a more in-depth view on that content briefing, then look at Chronicle number 1. But it's rated T for teen, alcohol reference, blood, mild language, mild suggestive themes, and violence. That was its predecessor, Mount and Blade Warband. Bannerlord is still an early release. I think they're trying to get it out officially this April. But because it's in early release, it's not finished, and so there's not an official ESRB rating for it, but this is pretty close, okay? And I'll explain why I'm looking at this one later on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lock the desktop now, and we're going to discuss my plans for this game. How I have this, it's pretty ambitious. I'm really rather skeptical that we can complete this, but this is what I'm shooting for, okay? My overarching plan is to restore Roman borders and culture. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Roman borders and culture, okay? And in order to do that, I would be doing several chronicles. Okay, so Chronicle number 1 would be focused on, let me go ahead and disable. Chronicle number 1 would be focused on going from Salerno to Sicily. We would form the Kingdom of Sicily. Now, I'm pretty confident that I can get that done. As long as patches don't break our save, corrupt our save, or competence on my part doesn't railroad us, then the second Chronicle would be forming the Italian Peninsula. The Italian Peninsula. Okay, so I thought this was really funny. This was rather witty. I don't know who did this, but Cosa Nostra is the infamous mafiosa phrase. It means that it's basically means this thing of ours, because they never speak in specifics, right, for obvious reasons. But the guy named it the Imperial Church of Italia, so it's real clear that he's drawing parallels between the mafia and the official church. As a Christian, I can look at that and say, well played, sir. I mean, that's just funny. I can at least appreciate the wit, even if I may not believe that he's on point with some things. I can see maybe in some areas, I can see how he would make the connection. But the clash of ideals here is what that's just really witty. And I thought this was a pretty good crack, man. Um, but this would be Italy. And for us to actually get it the way Crusader Kings would want us to, even though we're not playing Iron Man and we can't get the official achievement, I believe we also have to grab parts of the Dalmatian coast here. Okay, but so again, recapping, Chronicle number 1, we're starting out as the Duke of Salerno, and we're going to try and grab all of this, all of southern Italy plus Sicily, and probably here, this is Sardinia, and if we can, the island of Corsica. And that would form the Kingdom of Sicily. The second chronicle would be to get the rest of Italy and form the Italian nation. That would be chronicle number 2. Again, as Romans, we're going to be starting as the last Roman culture family, like true ancient Roman. Although we'll be Christian, that still counts as ancient Rome. That's 350 AD, I think. Ancient to us anyway. Maybe I am using the wrong term, not ancient Roman, but we're not Greek. We're actually Roman. We're Latin based, and so that's a major part that I'm trying to do, is to spread Roman culture, because royal court deals a lot with Roman culture. So that would be chronicle number 2. Chronicle number 3 then would be establishing whatever is required in the official achievement. Again, even though we're not playing Iron Man, that would constitute the Western Roman Empire, and then making sure that it's stable. Making sure it's stable. At that point in time, Chronicle number 4 would be taking over the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as Byzantium, which, if you've noticed in your playthroughs in Crusader Kings through, the Byzantine Empire tends to spread pretty well. By the way, we're going to start out in the Byzantine Empire. I will be swearing fealty to the emperor, the Basileus, and we're going to be Orthodox. But at the point in time that we're able to form the Western Roman Empire, we'll probably become independent, and then we will fight the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantiums, and take that over, eliminating the divide between Western and Roman Empire and making it simply the Roman Empire, like you see here, as well as eliminating the Great Schism. Now, I don't know which one I'm going to pick. I might convert to Catholicism once we have the Western Roman Empire. That's very likely, to be honest. I will probably do that. I don't really know yet. But whichever one that I decide that we're going to be, the idea is to stamp out the other one completely and heal the Great Schism and bring that together. So those are the ideas. They're kind of threefold. Restore the borders, so there's a geographical idea there. Spread Roman culture, so there's a cultural idea. And get one faith across the entire empire, so there's a religious goal. And that's what I'm that's the overall plan. So let me bring that back down. Talking now more specifically about this chronicle right here, which again is about going from the Duke of Salerno to the King of Sicily. My play style is slow. I like to begin as a count. We're going to be starting out as a duke in this case, but we're a one county duke, and we're going to be playing tall initially because of game mechanics. And the way that this works is that under the starting laws that you have, when you pass titles on to your kids, when you die and you have a succession, you are under partition law. And that first partition law, what it will do is that if you have any titles that can be created, even if you haven't created them yet, if you have a Duke title out there because you got 2 of the 3 counties required, or if you became a king and you have a secondary kingdom title, then it will create those duchy, those duke and kingdom titles for you, and it will hand them to your pretender children. Pretender children are anybody besides your primary heir, typically anybody younger than your firstborn male heir. Those are your pretenders. And they will get those titles and they will be separate. They will not be under the rule of the guy that you play as next. Which means that you have to go to war with your family to take all that stuff back. And it causes drama. And it's just kind of unfortunate. So to avoid that, one of the first things you can do is try to get up to the second partition law so that those what you do then is that, let's say that you get a second duchy title. You can destroy it. You can destroy it. And then whenever you die, you pass only the Duke of Salerno, even though it contains a whole bunch of land, let's say, to your son, and all you have to do is vie with your other children for individual counties instead of them having control of entire duchies. That's a significant difference. And then there's primogeniture, but it's going to take a long time to get to primogeniture. So I hope I've explained that well. In order to avoid succession crises, you want to play, well, I want to play tall early. That also coincides with another aspect of my play style. I don't like the idea of just starting out as super ambitious. I like to be a good vassal. I don't think every count out there had aspirations to become a king of their own and separate from their liege and declare war on their liege and take all his stuff, which is how we typically play Crusader Kings, right? So I like to start out playing as a good vassal. I play tall and I want to develop my own, what I already have. Maybe we will expand a little bit to places like Naples. Cagliari is a county I would like to have also. I have a few mods I'm playing with. Rice and Viet events are 2 of them. And another one is Unique Buildings Project. And with the patch that allows it to play well with Rice. And Rice and Unique Buildings Project together give you access to some special buildings, one of which is a silver mine in Cagliari. That's Cagliari. I forget what it's called. It's over on the Sardinian island. Cagliari, I think it's called. And there's silver mines there, and you can make a lot of money if you grab that county. Now, if somebody else snatches it up before we get there, then c'est la vie. That's how the cookie crumbles. But we do have some things modded into this game to play around with, including cultural men-at-arms. I forgot what that one's called, guys. It's HOC is the acronym. So that's another mod, okay? And then there's well, I'll talk about this bigger one here in a minute. Also, I want to let you know that I favor alliance strength over eugenics early on. I don't think I'm going to pay attention to eugenics until I am at least a king. And the realm needs to be stable. Why do I do this? Role-playing reasons. I think it's unrealistic and immersion breaking that we would have access to the kind of technical skills and medical information needed to do eugenics early on as a one county duke. I don't know how on earth we would be able to identify that somebody who lives half a world away has the genius trait. That doesn't make any sense to me. Also, more importantly, I don't know why that would even be relevant to us, because it's lower on the tier of requirements than security. And for us, security is going to be the number one thing. You're trying to establish security for your titles, and that's going to require alliances. So as a count and a duke, an aspiring duke, a multi-county duke, alliances are going to be favored. And then it seems to make more sense to me from a role-playing perspective that once not only are you on a throne, but you're on the throne of an established kingdom that is at peace with itself. That's whenever these families would begin looking for further into the future and how to secure their realm internally for their family for generations to come. That's when I think it makes more sense that they would dilly-dally with anything eugenics based. And I don't think that they would be able to do it like we would consider doing it by analyzing DNA. They obviously wouldn't be able to. Eugenics would maybe be, well, it's probably the right word, but they would do it in another way. They would probably have intelligence gathering services that would report on certain people to find out who exhibits the best traits, something like that. We can fit that in however we want, but the upshot being, I don't think we would do it until we were on a throne and in a secure empire, when people begin to have the space and comfort level to be able to look further down the road. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I also will be maxing out men-at-arms early on. And then the next step is to develop castles within our owned property and up-level those castles. After that, the idea would be to actually add to the development of our counties, because that will help us to improve our research and innovations, the Roman innovations. And I'll explain all that stuff when we're in game. Okay, finally, the last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm going to unlock display capture here. And this is a big if. Let's see here. There's a mod called Crusader Blade. This is why I gave you a content briefing on Bannerlord. Now, he is in the middle of updating this for Royal Court. It's not done yet. And right here, you can say it's still in progress, a very large amount of work. I can't give you an exact deadline for completion. He's working on it right now. There's a lot to do. I'm expecting he'll be finished in the next couple of weeks, but then you're going to have, it's going to be basically an open beta, and you have to find out, are there bugs? And does that need to be repaired? So this is kind of iffy, but the concept of this mod, what it does is that when you enter into a war on the map of Crusader Kings 3, it automatically collects all the relevant data for numbers, for troop types, and for who. I think that's maybe one of the most interesting aspects. The various commanders, the leaders of the alliances that you have allied with you in that army, and it brings them all into Bannerlord, and you can fight this battle in a Bannerlord setting up against an opposing army that is pretty close to it's at least generally reflecting most of the large aspects of the opposing army, and your army is reflecting that. And then it will take the results of that fight in Bannerlord, and it will re-import them back to CK3. So whenever it comes to who was captured, I'm not sure if it will track who was killed or not. I kind of think it might, but I'm not sure. The numbers of troops left over after you tally the wounded and dead. And I think that's that's a game changer, man. That's a paradigm shift. That this guy has made something. I just don't have any more words for it. It's incredible. It's a genius idea, and apparently it's a fairly lightweight application that can jump between these two programs. I mean, this might be the only mod that I've ever. If it works well, I'm going to try and find where I can donate to this guy, because that's pretty. I don't want to say game changing. That's not a good enough word for it. It's taking you to a new level of interactive gaming, and And man, I just think that's really cool. But will it work for our game? I just am not totally 100% sure. That's why, but the potential is there. And will it be something that we want to do long term? Because fighting these battles is going to take longer than fighting them in CK3. Also, I'm not quite sure how you would incorporate the bonuses from your buildings to, let's say you have a whole bunch of buildings that increase the damage that your footmen do, so that you have something like a 65% bonus to damage of your footmen. How do you pull that into Bannerlord? I don't really think that you can. I'm very suspicious of that. Um, and so I don't know if this is something that we would make use of long term or not. I have to try it out, but that is something I want to try out, and we'll be trying to incorporate that into this chronicle right here. So let me bring you back to the display, the picture that I have. So that should wrap it up right there. That's the plan, guys. And so I guess we'll do the outro right here. Again, I'm Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by this channel. I hope I showed you enough here to at least whet your appetite and give the first few episodes a shot, see what you think. But more importantly than that, I hope all is well in your neck of the woods. And I will see you in the next episode where this story begins.